Hello. We're pleased you could join us again, and today we'll be dealing with wear and tear around the house. With the ever-increasing cost of furniture and flooring, make, do and mend is becoming a familiar slogan once again.
Especially if you have damaged a fairly new carpet. The commonest damage is a burn, either with a cigarette or coal or sparks from the fire. But do remember, of course, that prevention's better than cure, and it is important to provide a good fire guard and ashtrays, but often you can be unlucky no matter what precautions you take.
Well, Muriel, if you like to whiz off and prepare for your next bit of make, do and mend, I'll tackle the burn we've got in this carpet.
Fine.
If it's only a very small burn and your carpet is a traditionally woven Axminster or Wilton, where the tufts are woven into the backing, you can mend it quite easily with matching wool. This is the burn I'm going to tackle today. Right. Now you can see here someone stubbed out a cigarette on the carpet, and we've got all these charred bits of tufts. So the first thing to do is to remove all the black bits, and you can simply do this by pulling, that's it coming, by pulling at the tufts with your fingers, or perhaps with a pair of tweezers. But the important thing is to get all these bits out, and then you're left with a bald patch in the carpet, which you have to fill in. Here we are. Now, to fill it in, you'll require wool of the same colour, or as near as you can get. Now, I found this bit of wool. These are just bits cut up into about 1 inch lengths. That's just normal double knitting wool, and it's very near the colour of the bit I'm going to mend. Then you'll require a carved needle. It's much easier if the carpet is on the floor to use a carved needle than a straight one, and this can be bought in any shop. You'll require thread, and this is specially strong thread, or linen thread, or even buttonhole twist would be suitable because it's stronger than the normal thread. So we've got enough bits of these. I'll just cut another couple, make sure we've got plenty. And then we start sewing it in. Put a knot at the end of your thread. There we are. And start. Now, you simply hook your needle into the backing, pull it through, the knot will prevent it going any further, and you'll lay on a tuft or a couple of tufts. I put in 2 here. Then, like doing a back stitch, go over the tufts, underneath, and come out further on. Then holding that in place, pull it up. Put in a single one last time. There's another 2. 2 more pieces. If your carpet is sort of marled into various colours, then 2 slightly dissimilar pieces of wool will give the same effect. Now, I think I'll manage another one here. And that's the back row done. Oops, that was good. Come back. Now. Now, that's a row of tufts. Then pull all these towards you. And we'll put the thread back to the hole. It's quite hard on your hands, this. And a thimble doesn't really help because you're not pushing the needle straight in, you're pushing it at an angle. Now, lay in a tuft, go back over it, and then bring the needle out beyond it. If you're doing this on a self-coloured carpet, it would be really essential to have exactly the right colour of wool for the tufts. And if you couldn't get that, then you might have to take little tufts from the edge of the carpet. If you go over to the very end, if it's a fitted carpet, and there's often a hem at the side, and you can reveal the very edge of the carpet, you could pick out a few strands of thread and sew these into the hole. We're rather lucky with a patterned carpet. It is easier to do. Now, on we go again. Ouch. Now, let's ease it up. very strong, these fibres. Now, again, that's the second row done. Pull all these towards you, and there's just a little gap still to be filled. So we'll come back the way we started. Now I'll put in 2 threads there, backstitch over them, bring out the needle beyond them. That's it. And one more. Fine. And a last one to fill in the last tiny gap. It looks an enormous amount of wool like this, but I'll show you how to trim it. That's it. And these little tufts will all be held in place. Then simply finish off the thread by running it underneath the carpet and taking it out at another place. You don't need back stitches here. Pull that and cut off the thread. Now, hold these up and cut them off level with the carpet. Don't cut down the way. And if we just trim these off, trim these off, trim these off. Now get all these bits put aside. Can you see how that looks? It certainly isn't perfect, but it's greatly improved on the mark made by the button.
Many modern carpets have a different construction, and the tufts are simply embedded in a latex backing, as you can see here. With this type of carpet, of course, you've got nothing to catch your needle in, so you'll have to use a different technique. And these are the tufts which are used to form the carpet. I've actually got these removed already. And you get them out by unravelling, these are some trimmings off the edge of the carpet, by unravelling a piece like that and then just snipping it at intervals to make tufts. And that means you can cut out any little bits of the backing which are still stuck in it. Now, you can't sew them in, so you're going to have to glue them in. And I've cleared the hole in exactly the same way as Anne did with the woven carpet. You can use tweezers or a razor or a sharp knife to get the bits out, and there is the little bald patch. For this, use any carpet adhesive, but the easiest thing to put it on with is not the spreader which comes with it, but a plastic or wooden iced lolly stick. These are absolutely ideal. Just take a little, a very little, on the end of the iced lolly stick and fill it in. Be careful not to let it onto the good bit of pile, and also to clean it when you've finished. Don't forget to put the cap on, or everything in the house will stick to it. Now, I find it's a good idea to clean the iced lolly stick and then just to use it to fill in the new tufts. And I've got a much easier job than Anne because they don't have to be sewn in. What you're going to do is just take a few at a time and, working from the back, press them firmly down into the adhesive. And you can see it makes quite a neat little cover-up. I've got my hole in the area of one colour. Of course, if it's a multicoloured carpet, you'll have to try to match the pattern as best you can. And if you've got cuttings or clippings, always keep these if you've had a new carpet. Otherwise, you'll have to take them off the edges or some part which doesn't show very much. Now, when you've got them all filled in, press down very firmly, and it's a good idea to put a weight over that for some time until the adhesive dries. Now, there is where the hole was. And although it's not quite such a strong repair or so hard wearing as the one Anne showed you, it's certainly an awful lot better than an unsightly burn or even a bald patch.
So far, we've tackled very small holes caused by burns, but a bigger area will need different techniques, and you may have to remove the whole of the damaged area. However, before doing this, make sure you have a piece to fill the space that you're going to cut out. And be sure that the pile on the patch goes the same way as the pile on the carpet. You can see the value of keeping any trimmings when a new fitted carpet is laid. A good tip is to use pieces of mats inside doors for a few weeks so that they'll wear and soil at approximately the same rate as the carpet. But remember that these can be dangerous to the elderly or small children, so use them with some care. If all else fails, a carpet shop might be able to give you a sample, or you could use a piece from underneath a large or solid piece of furniture like a sideboard or a piano, assuming, of course, that you don't intend to move it in the future. The technique here is the same as for mending vinyl, so as far as the cutting is concerned. Now, Muriel's going to patch a piece of damaged vinyl.
Well, Anne has already suggested some sources of patching materials. And the other thing you must have is a really sharp knife. And it's a good idea to have one with a retractable blade so that when it's not in use, you can make sure the knife is absolutely safe because it's very, very sharp and you could damage a hand, a finger or a foot if you're not particularly careful with it. Now, I've already got a patching piece, and as you can see, I've already got a hole in this piece of vinyl, and there's nothing you can do with this except cut it off. So cut this odd piece off, first of all, and discard it. Now, the technique for patching vinyl is a wee bit different from the carpet, but we'll deal with the vinyl first. I've cut a patching piece bigger than the hole. And I've also conveniently got vinyl which has got lines on it, and this is a good thing to remember if you're ever buying floor covering. Cut the piece bigger than the area you want to patch and centre up the pattern just to see that you're going to have plenty of an overlap all round. And the obvious way for me to cut this is actually to cut out the tile shape. So square it up with the pattern as it is on the floor, and then use tacks of some kind to hold this in position. Now, the absolutely ideal thing is these little map tacks, if you can get hold of them. If not, you could use panel pins or even ordinary carpet tacks. Don't knock them in too far, just enough to hold this firmly in position. Don't use a 4-inch nail or you're not going to do your patching piece any good at all. And I'm cleverly putting this in where the black design is so that if there is a tiny hole, it won't show, and in any case, it'll soon fill up. Now, that holds the whole piece firm. Now you need a really strong metal ruler, and this is the time when you have to start to be careful because you're going to use this very sharp knife. And I'm going to cut along the lines here, and I'm cutting through the patching part and through the underneath flooring at the same time. And to get this absolutely right, the best way to do is to angle the blade of the knife towards the ruler so that there's less chance of it slipping. You'll need about 3 cuts. You may need more, but we'll go round giving 3 for a start. It's not a job that you can do in a hurry. You want to take your time to it, and you don't want to be doing it when you've a house full of children running about, or pets, or when you're awaiting an important guest. In fact, it's quite a good idea to do it in the evening so that your patching piece can be left to set. Now, I think I'm nearly through to the floor on that one. And of course, at home, you could move around and do it the easiest possible way. I'm trying to do it this way so that you can see exactly what's going on. Now, while I'm finishing the cutting, just to refer to the carpet. If you're patching a carpet, it really is better to cut out the damaged area first, because a carpet should be cut along the threads. So cut out the damaged part and use that as your pattern for the piece that you're going to put in its place. Instead of cutting the 2 at once, as I'm doing here, cut out the damaged area first and use it as the pattern for the patch. Again, your patch will need to be cut straight along a thread. Now, if you're cutting in this direction, you want to be awfully careful that that knife doesn't slip back, or you could cut your trousers and, of course, worse still, your leg. Now, this seems to be pretty nearly loose, so take the tacks out and safety again, put them out of the way. And we've got our patch now cut. Put a tiny loose bit on the edge there and put it in the right way up. And now you want to get your bit off the floor. We haven't got this one cut right through. Knife blade, I think, is perhaps not as sharp as it might be. You could, of course, cut the 2 pieces separately, but if you can cut them both in one, there's a better chance that you'll get it to fit exactly here. This one's come away. This one's not quite. But I've got the line pretty well scored, so there's not that of a problem. And, of course, not being an expert tradesman, I maybe take a wee bit longer than somebody in the know would do. There we are. Now, if you've got stuck-down carpet tile, vinyl tiles, of course, you'll simply have to prise up the tile. And then you may find that you've got a lot of adhesive on the floor there, so you've got to take a wee bit of time with a sharp chisel or something of the kind and just be sure that the subfloor is absolutely clean. And in that case, you would apply adhesive to the floor and to the patch and to glue it down. But I'm going to do mine with sticky tape, because this is actually loose flooring. So use your sticky tape this way, and if you use the vinyl flooring just to hold it in place, cut off a strip and then just lift up the flooring and slip this underneath. Now, sticky tape, as you have probably discovered, is wonderful stuff. It sticks to everything except where you want it to stick. And there's no quick way of doing this. You just have to be patient and get it fitted in properly. There's one side. If you're doing a carpet, of course, you would use carpet tape for this. This that I've got is a plastic tape. And carpet tape, again, is self-adhesive, and you use it in very much the same way. If you've got a very small carpet patch, it's an even better idea to put a piece of hessian in behind it and apply adhesive to the hessian to stick your smaller patch down. Now, there we are. When I get out from under the flooring, you see what I mean? It sticks to absolutely everything. Just be careful with the corners. And a slightly shorter piece to put along the sides here. It is important that we get the corners, I'm not following my own advice here, well stuck down. But it's not quite so vital here, so we'll just make that a little bit easier. Because it's so adhesive that once something has stuck to that, including me, it's going to stick for a very long time. You can buy carpet tape, of course, and this sticky tape in most ironmongers and accessory shops. I think actually our hot lights here are adding to my problems because they're making the sticky tape even stickier than usual. But there's no quick way around it. There we are. Now, when you're putting on your patch, be sure you've got it the right way around. And start off by getting this edge squared up. Remember, once it's stuck, it has stuck. And you can use something underneath it, like the ruler, just to keep it away until you get it neatly down into place. And there we are. Get it firmly stuck in. You can use your hammer if you like, just to tack round it to be sure it's firmly stuck down. And I think you would agree you can hardly see that's there. Again, like the carpet patch, it's quite a good idea to put a heavy weight on top of it just to hold it in position, and also to buy a vinyl or carpet which is going to be easy to patch. It's important to keep floorings in good repair for safety's sake as well as economy, and Anne's going to tell you something about preventing wear and tear.
Furniture legs, especially on heavy furniture, can cause a lot of damage to floor coverings, and the right casters can help to prevent this. So let's have a look at some of them. This is a fairly typical old-fashioned sort of caster, and unless these form part of a period piece, I would suggest you could get rid of these altogether, because they are very small and they don't spread the weight as evenly as the modern ball sort of caster. These fix in quite easily, but if you don't wish to change them or they don't look right with your furniture, you can use these original kind, but with small gliders. Now, this is simply a cup, a plastic cup, in which the caster sits, and that will spread the weight. This is another sort, which is very similar, but it's rather more sophisticated because, in fact, it has two screws, one at either side, so that when the caster sits in it, you can tighten these screws. Then if you're shifting the furniture, there is no danger that you lift it off the caster and, by mistake, have the caster sitting on the floor making a mark, so that you can see this moves around with the caster. This sort is called a glider, and that's something I hadn't seen before. There are no actually wheels or movable parts, but it in fact slips about on a carpet and again spreads the weight. And it is fixed by means of a socket. Take it off to show you. This socket is fixed in the furniture and the glider is slipped into the socket. I thought I would just put one of these casters on this little cabinet. The leg has to have a hole about 1 inch deep by 3/16, and this is bored with a boring brace and bit, as we did last week. The hole is made, the socket fits in, and then the caster drops into place. The other type of caster is similar to that, but it has little plate at the end with screws, and these just fix on in the normal way. Now, moving heavy furniture causes wear and tear on floor coverings and on yourself, so it's well worth fixing good casters. Of course, it's not only floors which cause damage to furniture, and we thought we'd show you a very simple method of dealing with the most common accident in the home, marks on a polished surface. Muriel, I've got a cracking table here for you to deal with. How about that?
Well, I'm getting all the terrible jobs today.
I think it's appalling.
Well, these marks are caught on a polished surface by pouring on hot water or putting a hot plate on. And there's really a very easy way of getting them off.
Yes.
And that's by using a mild abrasive, which we all have at home, and it's called metal polish. It may be in a tube, or it may be the liquid kind in a tin. And all you've got to do is rub that onto these burn marks, and it takes off a little of the polish as well, of course.
It's
but you can
incredible,
see that makes quite a difference. And then you just rub.
And that you just use directly on the surface.
And that polishes it up. But you take a wee bit longer, but it really does work. It's a very successful way of getting that kind of burn mark
before.
off.
No,
Any kind of metal polish.
Metal polish,
So you could perhaps, Anne, spend a happy half hour later today restoring this table to new.
I think I will. It's just something I hadn't discovered before. I'll protect the carpet with this cloth because I have another table I thought you might look at. We've got scratches on it.
Yes, we have, haven't we? Well, this is the kind of thing we have quite a lot at home, and there's one very useful way of getting scratches out, and that's by using a Brazil nut. And all you have to do, it must have the skin on.
It's the kernel.
Yes, and you simply rub this over your scratch, and an oil comes out and dyes the mark. Now, you can see, look, that's beginning to
sounds like one of these old wives' tales, which really works.
It is an old wives' tale, but it does actually work.
Yes,
the other thing you can use, you could try metal polish, or you can buy a special scratch cover polish. It's made in 3 different shades. This is the dark one, and do be careful with it. This is why we've protected the floor. You can just use a little of that, and again, rub it well into your scratch. But these are just sort of quick hints. We haven't really got time to go into it in a lot of detail, but it does help the situation tremendously. It is worth trying these methods on burn marks and scratches. It doesn't always work, but sometimes the improvement can be quite dramatic, as you've seen.
Yes. Well, thanks, Muriel. That was absolutely great. There we must leave today. And if you would like a fact sheet with the details of these patches, just send a stamped addressed envelope to Do It Herself Patches, Grampian Television, Queen's Cross, Aberdeen, AB9 2XJ. Well, we'll be back next week with more useful ideas for you. Join us then. Goodbye.
Bye.